All right, so we are at the end of 2024. Where did the time go? But you know what that means. Since we are at the end of the year, it is time to do our yearly wrap up, do my best and worst of 2024. Already done my worst, so now let's do the best. Let's talk about the movies that gave me joy, hope, satisfaction, envy. Well, maybe not envy, but movies that made me happy this year. Maybe movies that made me overjoyed with just cinematic greatness. Let's get into those. I'm so happy to be able to be talking about this list, guys. Now, look, before I get into this list, I want to let everybody know that I made this list based off of what I enjoyed the most this year, not necessarily what the crowd pleasers would suffice as some of the best of movies of the year. Not I would make this ranking based off of what people would judge me for having on it or not on it. It took me a while because this year, surprisingly, was actually a damn good movie, a damn good year for movies. Honestly, a lot of surprise hits. That's what this movie 2024 was full of surprise hits, and I want to get into those. So now we're going to talk about my best movies of 2024. So the first movie on my honorable mentions list is a movie that I know for a fact that to this date, no, what is this, December 28th, 2024, people still don't even know this movie exists, and it's a damn shame because the marketing should have been a lot stronger for this movie. I have Your Monster. Melissa Barrera, who has been utterly disrespected in the Scream franchise, came back this year and made two big fuck you movies to the Scream 7 makers with Abigail and Your Monster, because Abigail was good, but Your Monster is my favorite rom-com of the year. It is one of my favorite comedies of the year. It is also a damn good horror movie. It's a tremendous spin on the Beauty and the Beast story, and the chemistry between Melissa Barrera and the person that plays the Beast in this movie is out of this world. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. It's one of the most original movies of the year. It's one of those movies where you can legit say they do not make them like this anymore, and that is really true. They do not make movies like this anymore, and I am so glad I got to experience a movie like this in a theater by myself because I had the time of my life. And if you have the opportunity to watch this movie, I am begging you, do not skip it. Watch it because it is a great movie. For my second honorable mention, I think this is a movie that completely took us all by surprise, but at the same time took the world by storm. I'm talking about Blink Twice. I had no expectations for this movie whatsoever, and personally, I really wanted this movie to make my top 10 of the year after I saw it, but that's why I had to put it on my honorable mentions list, because I need people to know that if you have not seen this movie, do yourself a favor and watch this movie because it is absolutely amazing. But I was just so thrown off at the fact that not only was Zoe Kravitz deep in her directorial debut bag, but Channing Tatum turned in a performance that absolutely has me on board with whatever he does next. And he was very good in Fly Me to the Moon. Fly Me to the Moon is another underrated movie that came out this year. I was not the biggest fan of his Gambit cameo, but he was great in Fly Me to the Moon. And he's even better. Possibly the best Channing Tatum has ever been is in Blink Twice here. He is so good. And Naomi Ackie. I think this is the first movie I've ever seen Naomi Ackie in, but she is a star. A star was definitely born in this movie. Blink, like I said, guys, if you have not seen this movie, just do yourself a favor because you will not regret it. It's one of the best thrillers of the year, one of the craziest movies that'll truly have you on the edge of your seat with twists and turns that'll have your mind just going, what the actual fuck am I watching? But at the same time, while you're saying that sentence, you're having the time of your life doing it. So check that movie out. My third honorable mention is a movie that I do think a lot of people are starting to catch on to. However, not enough know about this movie. So it is me taking the time to spread the word about this movie. My third honorable mention is Strange Darling. Guys, this movie needs to be seen by all of my horror, thriller, serial killer lovers out there. You gotta watch this movie because Willa Fitzgerald and Kyle Gardner put on an absolute masterclass in a cat and mouse game that keeps you thinking, keeps you guessing, not necessarily knowing where the story is headed. And I love the way that they told the story, because it keeps you in the dark from certain things that makes the movie way more interesting and way more engaging once those things that they kept you in the dark about are actually revealed. And it completely shifts your mind on the entire way that the movie was watched in the first half once you are introduced to those things that happen in the second. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant thriller. It is one of the best that I've seen in quite a long time. And honestly, I mean that in the sense of, like I said, this movie I had no expectation for. Like I said, 2024 truly had a lot of pleasant surprises. And this was definitely one of them. This was one of the most perfect thriller-wrapped gifts I could have ever received. So thank you to Willa Fitzgerald and Kyle Gardner, and the director of this movie, whose name I do not know. But thank you to everybody who was involved in this movie, because it's truly a gem. Y'all was cooking with this one. Okay, so for my fourth honorable mention, I'm going to put Wicked. Now, I know a lot of you just screamed at your computer screens. I need y'all to tone all of that down, because I will sit here and tell you that Wicked is an amazing movie. Wicked is damn good. I'm just not that big of a Wicked fan, and that's not necessarily why this movie isn't on my actual top 10 list. I mean, it's here in the honorable mentions because it made me a fan. I don't like The Wizard of Oz. I don't like The Wiz. I don't like nothing to do with none of that shit. But Wicked, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, John M. Chu, all of y'all have turned me into a fan. I cannot wait for Wicked for good. I can't wait to see where the story goes. The songs were banging. The themes were slanging, if that makes sense. But it's a good movie. It just wasn't good enough to make my top 10. But it's still here, so that should count. All right, and for honorable mention number 5, like I said, these will pile up because I have quite a few honorable mentions. But for honorable mention number 5, I have Mufasa, the Lion King. This, again, adds to the fact that 2024 was the year of pleasant surprises, because when I tell y'all I had no interest in watching this goddamn movie at all, because 2019's Lion King is a complete disgrace to the Disney name and the Lion King name itself, I had no interest in watching Mufasa. But then I sat my ass down in this theater, and Lin-Manuel Miranda got my ass singing, I always wanted a brother. I still remember my mother, one season after another. And he's graced me with that. I always wanted a brother. He's graced me with Bye Bye. He's graced me with Malele. Whatever the love song. Tell me it's you. I know it's you. Oh my God. Him and Barry Jenkins delivered one of my favorite movies of the year. It is my biggest TikTok to date. Thank you to everybody who has viewed, commented, and supported that. And thank you to people who do that in general. But Mufasa, as people are figuring out once they watch it, is truly one of the most pleasant surprises of the year. And it had to make my list. Had to make my list because I have to continue to spread the word about brothers and Lin-Manuel Miranda and the genius of Barry Jenkins. And the absolutely ridiculously great voice casting of Aaron Pierre, Kelvin Harrison Jr., and Blue Ivy Carter. I do got to shout out little Blue Ivy because her as Kiara was tremendous. And you damn sure outdid your mother. You killed your mother in the voice booth, which not many can say they did that. So that's how you know she's Beyonce's daughter. Outdoing her mother in something. That girl got talent. All right, so we are at honorable mention number 6, and this is where the honorable mention started to hurt me a little bit because these are movies that I actually truly wished I could have put in my top 10. I just couldn't. And we're going to start with Late Night with the Devil, because when I first saw this movie, and for a very long time, it was holding very strong on my top 10, but when I put my list together at the end of the year, I said, you just missed the mark. But however, David Dastmalchian delivered a brilliant performance as this talk show host in this movie. And honestly, look, man, it's been a minute since I've seen the movie, but I know for a fact that guy in the skeleton costume is up to no good. He had something to do with everything going on in that movie. I just know he's the mastermind behind it, but we'll wait for a sequel if there is a sequel to know. I think that brother should get a spin-off movie because he was creepy within itself. But regardless, Late Night with the Devil was one of the best horror movies for me. I loved the way that they told this story and how they had the character that played the skeptic in this movie, it was a great back and forth between him and David Dastmalchian the entire time, because you're literally sitting there thinking and wondering, is this real? Is it not real? Is it all for show? Is this actually... And the child actor in this movie who played the girl possessed by the devil did an amazing job as well. It's just a really good movie, and it really hurt me that it couldn't make my top 10 because it's a damn good movie. All right, so honorable mention number 7, and this is probably where people are going to start getting mad at me if they have not already got mad at me for Wicked. Furiosa. I know, okay? I really wanted it to make it. I really did, but there were just other movies that I had to express on my top 10 list because they really spoke to me a lot more than Furiosa did. Now, Anya Taylor-Joy is nothing short of magnificent. Chris Hemsworth gives the best performance he's ever given in his career. He is tremendous. Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. He's great. He's great. I just couldn't bring myself to put this in my top 10. But granted, it is a phenomenal movie. And if it is in your top 10, I applaud you and I respect you. And I'm glad that it can be. I know it's going to be in a lot of other people's top 10s. That's why I'm not necessarily tripping that it's not in mine. But it is an honorable mention because it is one of the best movies of the year. And George Miller... Honestly, he can keep making as many of these as he wants because clearly he knows the direction he wants these movies to go in. He knows how to treat the world that he created and he started, and it is nothing short of spectacular. It's a damn good movie. Again, it's just not top 10 for me. All right, we only got two honorable mentions left. So with that being said, honorable mention number 8 is The Substance. I know. I wish it could make it. I wish it could have made my list. I wish The Substance could have made my list. I really do. Because Margaret Qualley, oh my God. Demi Moore, first of all, oh my God. But Margaret Qualley, oh my God, gave phenomenal performances in this movie. Easily one of the best horror films of the year, next to the other two that are actually in my top 10 list. But no, The Substance was everything it promised to be. It was gross. It was very... memorable for good and bad reasons. Memorable to the point where there are scenes in there you will truly never forget because of the themes that they tackle in that movie as far as looks and getting older and beauty and all that good stuff. Like it truly dives into some heavy shit and the things that you would do to keep your beauty and the things you would do to continue to feel beautiful and good about yourself the older you get. And the honestly, the situation itself, like the entire premise of the movie is so interesting because the deeper it gets and the crazier it gets, you really ask yourself, what would you do in a situation like this? And honestly, it's if you really want to get to know a lot about a person and their insecurities and different things about them, just ask them what they would do in this kind of situation. Ask them what they would do. If they were the older or the younger person, like ask them what they would do. If they would stop, if they keep going, ask them. Because you're going to find out a lot about somebody. But no, The Substance is one of the best movies of the year. And it pains me it didn't make my top 10. But I promise you guys, my top 10 is good, at least in my opinion. And last, but certainly not least on this honorable mentions list, I have number 9, Transformers 1. And I just have to sit here and apologize to Transformers 1 because... I really, really, really wish I could have put you on my... Look, like, honestly, it's so crazy because I literally have behind me Optimus, B, and Megatron posters. I literally grabbed all 3 of those walking out of Transformers 1 because I loved it that much. And I'm honestly just as shocked as you are that it didn't make my list, but the reason it didn't was because there was one movie that I saw that I missed in theaters that it just had to make my top 10. It came close. Transformers 1 was very close. It was honestly this close to making my top 10 list. But it didn't. And I do have to apologize because Brian Tyree Henry gave a majestic performance as Megatron, a voice performance as Megatron. He gave an amazing performance. And Chris Hemsworth as Optimus Prime. They both killed it. And shout out to Keegan-Michael Key and Scarlett Johansson as well because the voice performances are amazing. The movie is so funny. It's full of action. It's a great story. John Hamm as Sentinel Prime was like, yo, no. Transformers 1 was really like that. But honestly, if I'm making these kind of emotions and expressions towards these movies, imagine what I'm going to say about my top 10. So let's get into it. Okay, at number 10, I have Smile 2. And look, The first Smile made my top 10 list in 2022, and here we are with the sequel that has literally improved on everything the first movie gave me, including just the absolute insanity and the mind fucks. The mind fucks in this movie. Everything that the first movie did gets dialed up by at least 10 notches in this sequel here, and it delivers. In every sense of the word, the sequel delivered. And I watched this movie again like a week ago. Yo, it hit different. It hits even more crazier the second time around. And the smiles are creepy as hell. Naomi Scott gives one of my favorite performances, not just horror performances, but favorite performances of the year. Smile 2 was something to truly be in awe of. Smile 2, and Talk to Me are some of my favorite horror movies of this decade. Seriously. I think Smile could truly become like an Evil Dead type franchise if these movies continuously come out and get better and better and better, because now I can only imagine what Smile 3 is going to be like. Smile 3 is going to be complete insanity, and 2 already took us there. So 3 is just going to go completely out of this range or out of this world. But no, Smile 2 was as good, if not a lot better than its predecessor. And as far as I'm concerned, it was a lot better. The stakes are turned up by 7 notches. Like I said, the mindfuck moments and the moments where you cannot tell reality versus the demon messing with her, it's all truly insane. The beginning of Smile 2 itself is honestly a big reason why it's on my top 10 list, because Parker Finn just knows what he wants that universe to be, and it's horrifying and it's awesome all at the same time. All right, so so at number 9 I have Dee Dee, and this is the movie that knocked Transformers 1 out of my top 10. I am sincerely sorry again that Transformers 1, but honestly, if you've seen Dee Dee, then you should understand. At least especially if you grew up in this era and this time frame that this movie takes place in. If you grew up, this is literally my childhood. That's why this movie speaks volumes to me, because this is literally how I grew up. All the interactions between the kids, it's like literally watching me and my friends at school all over again. Me being able to actually view my friends now, the way me and my friends acted when we were kids, it's literally in that movie. Beyond that, it is a love letter to all of the mothers that put up with their sons' bullshit, and they continue to love us unconditionally. They continue to just love us unconditionally and just without remorse. And I truly, truly, truly was brought to tears. Immensely, immensely joyous tears, but tears nonetheless, watching Dee Dee. The performances given in this movie were amazing. I love the dynamic between Dee Dee and his mom. And honestly, just the different things that happened to him throughout the movie, as far as him not being very accepting of his heritage. He kind of hides the fact that he's half Asian or whatever, or he doesn't necessarily like that too much. And the way he treats his mom like crap. And unfortunately, it does remind me of the way I treat my mom at times. And like I said, it's truly a love letter to the mothers that give unconditional love even when their sons are being complete and utter dickheads. I do sincerely apologize, Mom, but Dee Dee was definitely one of the best movies of the year. And I didn't see this movie in theaters. I had to watch it on Peacock, which is a disservice to this movie in a sense, but it's still a damn good movie nonetheless. But I really wish I would have caught it in theaters. That's my only gripe about it. At number 8, I have Heretic. And ever since I walked out of this movie theater, this movie came out, I think, last month, but still to this day, I cannot stop saying to myself, I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. Hugh Grant gave definitely either my second favorite performance of the year or my favorite. I'm still in debate about that, but regardless, Hugh Grant is the reason that this movie is here. I was truly entertained as fuck watching Hugh Grant play this heretic character, because not only am I such a very huge fan of dialogue and writing in movies, but when conversation can be the focal point, or when conversation is the main focal point of the movie and it can keep you engaged, like what The Social Network did with Aaron Sorkin's writing, how you are so engaged in not only just what people are doing, but the conversation that they are having, which is the majority of what this movie is. The the examples that he gives to back his statement, the comparisons that he makes, the depths that of the conversation that they get into, and honestly the rebuttals that Sophie Thatcher and the other young lady whose name I cannot think of at the moment, the rebuttals that they give back and forth just makes for such a very entertaining movie. Now, I can agree that it does get into a little supernatural element that does get kind of silly or can definitely take you out of the movie. But personally, for me, it never does, just because I am so caught up and so engaged and so intrigued in the conversation and where this movie is headed itself, that honestly, for me, the supernatural aspect, I knew it was going to go, like, it's an A24 movie, so I knew it was going to go somewhere a little crazy at some point. So I was kind of expecting it, so it didn't really throw me off when it happened. But regardless, like I said, Hugh Grant is mainly the reason that this movie is here, just because watching him play this character, I had so much fun. He's having fun, and I truly, truly, truly highly recommend you watch this movie, because it's definitely worth it for the conversation itself. Like, now, granted, this movie ain't having me believing that God not real. No, we ain't playing that. Nah, he's definitely real. But like I said, as far as I'm concerned, Hugh Grant gave one of my favorite performances of the year, if not my favorite performance of the year. That's why this movie is here. And Sophie Thatcher and the other young lady that was in this movie, they killed it. Like, this movie literally is surrounding three people, and it's straight conversation. And it's so fucking good. And that I can truly appreciate and absolutely love. And the character development that happens between, not Sophie Thatcher, but the other young lady with the glasses, how her character really starts to turn and develop throughout this conversation and throughout this event happening. I loved it. I loved all of it. So it's a great movie. At number 7, I have Sing Sing. Now, this was the movie that was competing with Furiosa to make my top 10 list. And I literally said to myself, as much as I want Furiosa to be on here, I can't do that to Colman Domingo. I can't say that I sat here and watched Sing Sing and that's not in my top 10 of the year. Like, Colman Domingo, in my opinion, should win Best Actor. He not only should be nominated, but he should win. I'm not going to be too upset if Timothée Chalamet wins, because I understand. But I think Colman Domingo definitely deserves the win here, because Sing Sing was transcendent. Sing Sing was truly something that, especially with me aspiring to be an actor, it really, really just helped seeing a whole nother vulnerable side of prisoners of all people. People that are like, that life has technically essentially given up on. Like, life doesn't, give them anything because they're locked up, they're criminals, they're convict. The world has basically turned their back on these men, and they found a way through acting and theatrics to not only get a sense of purpose back, but honestly give themselves meaning in their lives again. And it was watching this story play out and knowing that it's a true story at the same time was absolutely sensational. It was nothing short of spectacular. I loved every second of this movie. Colman Domingo, as I said, once again, brought me to tears. He gave definitely a top 3 performance of the year for me. But like I said, because I know Hugh Grant ain't getting nominated. That's why I'm just not even going to waste my time with that, although he should be nominated, because I don't think there are 5 or 6 actors that gave a better performance than Hugh Grant this year, but whatever. But no, if somebody's got to win, I'm rooting for Colman Domingo. I'm rooting for Colman Domingo on this one, because he is truly, truly, truly a special actor. Like, ridiculously, immensely talented actor. And Sing Sing is easily one of the best movies of the year for me. At number 6, I got Nosferatu, and this kind of disappoints me as much as it probably disappoints all you Succumbing to Darkness stands out there. I really wanted to succumb to the darkness harder. I really wish this movie would have fell in my top 3. I wanted it to be my number 1, and I love horror that much. Unfortunately, it just did not get there for me, but it is still, like I said, a damn good movie. A movie where I can definitely take my excitement for the hype that I fell into. Like, I got succumbed to the hype way too much. Like, I succumbed to the hype around this movie way too much, and I really shouldn't have, but I can still admit that it's a damn good movie, because it's at number 6 on my top 10, and if it wasn't for that mustache, it might have made 5, but no, that mustache bothers me a great deal, so it is what it is. Okay, so at number 5, I have Anora. And honestly, when it came to these movies in my top 5, I had to really look and go, Ain't no way in hell Nosferatu's making it over these movies. Like, I'm not even going to try to do that. I'm not even going to lie to myself like that. Anora is at number 5, and Anora is, honestly, there's a gap when it comes to the first 5 movies that I told you guys, and then we get to our top 5. There's a little gap right there because Anora is ridiculously good. Mikey Madison gives my favorite performance from an actress this year. Yeah, I can definitely say that. Yeah, she gives my favorite performance from an actress this year. And Sean Baker. Wow. Like, to make a movie like this to where you could be laughing so incredibly hard at something for periods and times of this movies and then hysterically sobbing moments after. Witchcraft you got going on over there, man. You are really a good filmmaker, because what the heck? I've never experienced such a roller coaster of emotions than I have in this movie here. Because it's like I'm laughing so hard at some points in this movie. This movie is really funny. And then it just gets to a tragically very heartbreaking part. Then that turns into tragically just dark, and then tragically just not depressing, but you get really sad and you want to cry. Because it's like the ending, the final frame to this movie breaks you. It breaks you in a way where you are literally stuck in your seat. Whether you're watching this in the theater or at home, you are going to be stuck in your seat letting the credits play out, because you really just need to fathom what the hell just happened. And you sit there, and the more you sit there, and the more it sits with you, and the more you think about it, the greater it gets, the more tragic it gets, but the more beautiful it gets. That's Anora. At number 2, I got Inside Out 2. And look, for a majority of my life, I would say up until the moment I actually saw this movie, up until I was 23 or 22, 23, I never really had like a full comprehension and understanding of what anxiety actually was. But then I really started to actually understand a little bit better the older I got. This movie spells it out for you. This movie lets you know on full display what anxiety is, because never in my life have I felt the anxiety that I felt from this movie here, watching this movie play out. Maya Hawke as anxiety was brilliant. When I tell you, I was literally to the point of I could probably pull my hairs out in this movie. I was so damn stressed. Oh my God. Like, anxiety was killing me in this movie. And that is why I have to put this movie at number 4, because of the brilliance. The brilliance and I would say the raising of the stakes as far as the adding the emotions in this movie, and really diving into themes where not only kids can relate to, but adults as well. This movie is for everybody. Like, I really don't like when people always try to call animated movies kids movies, because there's a difference. Kids movies don't have themes like this. Kids movie, let me explain something to you. You can show this to any adult. Show this movie to any adult in the world, and I promise you, we're going to be stressed the fuck out and crying hysterically because of how accurate of a depiction anxiety is in this movie, and how joy combats anxiety. Yo, like, I'm telling you, I don't know. This movie was speaking levels. Inside Out 2 was speaking levels the entire time, and I adored the fuck out of this movie. I adored it, truly. Inside Out 2 is one of my favorite movies of the year, as you can tell, because it's at number 4. But no, like, truly, just because of the way this movie made me feel, the way that they enhanced all of the emotions, and they enhanced the way that the first movie kind of made you feel, and what the first movie did for you. I really didn't even like the first Inside Out for a while, because it made me really sad, and I thought it was a very depressing movie. But then, like, the more I could get through it, and the more I actually watched it, I really appreciated it a lot more. Here, they make it, they deal with a whole nother emotion, anxiety, rather than sadness, and you are sitting there really losing your goddamn mind. Like the kids in my theater were just enjoying it, having a great time. I seen some stressed out adults in that theater, and we all looked around at each other and said, "Yo, is anybody feeling the same thing I'm feeling? 'Cause I need a juice box. I am tripping right now." But no, like, yo, Inside Out 2 was one of the most phenomenal movies I've seen all year. Shout out to Maya Hawke as anxiety. Shout out to Amy Poehler as joy. Shout out to all the emotions themselves, but especially Amy Poehler and Maya Hawke, because they delivered. In every sense of the word, they delivered one of Pixar's best movies as far as I'm concerned. Inside Out 2 is incredible. Now at number 3, I got Dune Part 2. And Look, as the movies that are in my top three, I'm trying to get my words together. The movies that are in my top three, I each gave all of those movies 5 stars. So all of them are tied in my opinion. Now, granted, Dune 2 is going to be on a lot of people's number one list this year. So I'm going to let them have it. And that's not necessarily me saying that Dune 2 is like, it was my number one for a very long time until I saw my number one movie, and then I rewatched my number two movie and was like, actually I rewatched I've seen my number two movie more than I've seen Dune 2 this year, and the more I watch that movie, the more in love I fall with it. But I need people to understand there's another gap. So you got movies 10 through 6, like right here, and then there's a gap between 4 and 5. Those are up here, and there's another gap between 5 stars. All three of my top 3 movies got 5 stars, and so it was very hard to choose between all of them. But what made it pretty easy for me was the fact that the other 2 movies just hit a lot different. The more I watch, not different, but they impact me a lot more the more I watch those. Now, Dune, I'm locked in the whole time. Denis Villeneuve should win Best Director. I think Dune 2 should win Best Picture. I also think that Timothée Chalamet should have been nominated for Paul Atreides, but if not, let's get personally, I think Zendaya, if Zendaya is going to get nominated for anything, it should be for this next film. But Rebecca Ferguson, let's get her nominated. Javier Bardem was a meme king this year. Beyond that, the last 30 minutes, the Lassane Al Gaib speech within itself is the reason why this movie's in my top 3, why this movie's in my top 3. It's an immaculate movie. It's a gorgeous movie. The score, Austin Butler's bald head, Florence Pugh, Christopher Walken, everybody's amazing. Everybody's amazing. This is a tremendous movie, but I think just due to the fact that I know a lot of people would probably have this at number 1, I didn't necessarily want to be so generic and put this at my number 1. Now, granted, my number 1, actually, no, it overtook Dune the minute I saw it, meaning as soon as it was over, I knew that was my number 1 for the year. But I tried to make a case for Dune, but no, it didn't make it to my top 2. But let's get on to my top 2. So at number 2, I got Challengers. Yeah. And it kind of surprised me too, because actually Challengers was number 3 on my list for a very long time, and Dune was number 2, and then they flipped. As of recent, on my most recent rewatch, they flipped because, like I said, I've seen Challengers a lot more than I've seen Dune this year. And for good reasons, because Zendaya is breathtaking in that movie. Like I said, if she's going to get nominated for something, let's get her nominated for Challengers as Tashi Duncan. Because, wow, Luca Guadagnino was in a whole different bag in this movie here. And I mean from moments of the chemistry between all the 3 leads, the synchronization that these characters were in, especially that lunchroom scene where basically Mike, or I don't know who does it first, but basically like Mike Fice or Josh O'Connor pulls up the other person's stool with a seat, and pulls the other person's seat up with their foot, and then they sit down, and then they're eating the churro simultaneously. Like they're just, it's all directed so very well. Luca Guadagnino truly made one of the most breathtakingly spectacular films I've seen all year. The score to this movie is ridiculous. The one scene where Tashi is explaining what tennis means to her always gets me, and the score that is playing behind that scene is gorgeous. Josh O'Connor as Patrick Swayze gives my favorite performance of the year, right next to Hugh Grant, if I'm being completely honest. But Josh O'Connor, I could not stop raving about this kid ever since I saw him in Challengers. I literally watched this movie mainly for him all the time because I just have a huge man crush on dude now. Like, dude is just, he's insanely talented. Like, it makes no sense. The facial expressions, the cockiness, the way they threw the ball, to serve the ball, y'all know what I'm talking about. Him and Mike Fice were absolute beasts in this movie. The score to this movie is insane. The performances between Zendaya, Mike Fice, and Josh O'Connor are Oscar nomination worthy. Don't know how much nominations this movie's going to get, but I hope that Josh O'Connor gets a nomination. I pray that Zendaya gets one. And I pray that Luca gets... And Luca better... There's no way in hell Luca Guadagnino's not getting a nomination for Best Director. So we can just skip that. But no, Challengers is one of them ones. Challengers, man... No, I'm telling you, that score... Go to the gym listening to the score to that movie. I promise you'll come out losing at least 60 pounds. You would have went that hard listening to the score of that movie. It is ridiculous. And at number one, ladies and gentlemen, a movie that I have been raving about, going insane about since it released. I literally had to go see it at least 4 times this year. Well, while it was released in theaters, I cried like a baby every time I watched it. The message to the movie was so powerful and really spoke to me personally that there was no way this couldn't be my number one movie of the year. It is easily the most beautiful looking movie I've seen all year. It's The Wild Robot. It's The Wild Robot. And I am a big advocator of animated movies because I feel like they don't necessarily get the respect that they deserve, but I do think that Inside Out 2 and The Wild Robot deserve Best Picture nominations. Because I can promise you, whatever nominations they're going to release, I can point out 3 movies. I'm just going to guess. I can probably point out 3 movies that The Wild Robot and Inside Out 2 are better than. But we're talking about The Wild Robot right now. The Wild Robot deserves a Best Picture nomination. Kiss the Sky deserves a nomination for that song. Lupita Nyong'o, if it was possible, I would love it if she could get nominated for her voice work as the robot. Pedro Pascal gave one of my favorite voice performances this year as that Fox. And truly, that's really when he started to grow on me because he was amazing in that movie. Kit Connor as Bright Bill. Watching that whole story truly, like even now, like thinking about The Wild Robot makes me tear up because it was truly one of the most beautifully told stories and one of the most gorgeously crafted animated films I've ever seen in my life. And shout out to every single animator that worked on this movie. Animators do not get the credit that they deserve enough, and I need you guys to understand here that you guys overly cooked. It's not even burnt. It's like the most medium well done steak you could ever have in your life, and it's just so fucking fantastic. It's so good. The Wild Robot truly brought me to tears. There is I say this every time I talk about this movie, there is legit a 10 to 12 minute sequence in this movie that makes me cry like a baby every single time. Because it just speaks to my heart. It speaks to what I want to do in life. It should speak to all of you. It should speak to, what if you take your feet, or what if you look your fears right in the eyes and say you'll see them another time? What if for once you can find it, like yo, like even now, that's about to make me cry. That song, so good. The message, the story, everything. Yo, even the beaver talking about the art is the process. I think he said the process is the art, or something like that. Like yo, they were speaking volumes the entire movie. It's about being yourself, being a wild robot. How everybody gonna look at you funny, everybody gonna look at you different, but no matter what, if you continue to be yourself, be kind, and be that wild, outrageous robot that you were designed to be, you will be okay in life. Yo, I'm about to go watch The Wild Robot right now after I finish this video because y'all just got me in the mood to watch this thing again. It is an amazing message. It is one that, again, is not just for kids. We all need it. Find the grumpiest old person you know and show them this movie, and I promise you they'll cry hysterically. But at number 1 is The Wild Robot. And guys, that is my top 10 best movies of 2024 list. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Look, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff and so much more. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite movies of the year were. Did you agree with my list? If you didn't, don't be a jackass about it. Just let me know why. We can have a discussion about it, okay? Thank you, guys. I really do appreciate it. Look, beyond that, guys, I just want to say thank you so very much for everyone who has subscribed to my channel, whether it was this year, last year, regardless. Thank you so everybody who has watched my videos. Thank you for all your support. I promise you in 2025, I'm going to do everything in my power to make these videos a lot better, make my content just a little bit up the stakes a little bit, you know, but I can't thank you guys enough. I really do appreciate it, man. You guys are fucking amazing. You guys have an amazing new year. Happy holidays to you all. This is your guy in the chair. More content coming to you soon.